Well, hello, good afternoon. So I am starting this whole new thing with my channel where I am going to be talking to you guys about my journey to open a retail store. So I'm opening up a smoke shop. You guys know that I'm in the smoke business. I represent a lot of smoke clients, whether it be CBD, tobacco stores, smoke shops, all kinds of stuff related to smoke. And I think it was only a matter of time before I actually ventured into this kind of industry myself. And it's been quite a challenge. It's been rigorous, it's been thrilling, it's been stressful, and we're not even anywhere close to opening. So I'm gonna get a bunch of stuff done today. I'm toggling between fixing up the store, doing what I need to do for the store and for the location, as well as client work for you guys, also YouTube and social media stuff. So it's proving to be quite a balancing act for me. So come along with me. I'm going to be talking about finding spaces and zoning and lease negotiations in today's video. And we will start from the very beginning with the very basics. So yeah, let's take a look at the shop right now where it's at, and then we can have a little chat about those things. I'm just realizing that these angles are not very flattering. So it is a rainy day here in South Florida, which really sucks. But in the summertime, it tends to rain a lot. I'm just glad that we don't have COVID, like a pandemic COVID, rioting, and a hurricane. That would really suck. I'm just hoping we don't get a hurricane this year at all. Anyway, so let's start at the beginning of the store. This is my frontage here. Let me turn it around so you can see. Full glass frontage, it's pretty cool. What I really liked about this particular space, like when you walk in, you turn to the right, and all the research that I have done basically said that in retail space, most people, 90% of people will turn to the right and start shopping. So I really like the idea of walking in through the front door and turning to the right. I also learned that in my research that retail spaces usually have a transition area before you actually get into the actual products and sales space. So I wanted to make sure that I had a transition area, and in that space I planned on doing one of these green walls because, you know, the name of the store and company is Grow House. So kind of like a greenhouse, a grow house for plants. I do love plants, and you kind of got that little innuendo of the grow house with the weed and the cannabis and whatnot. So anyway, so I've got this green wall, and I plan on taking this all the way over, as well as taking it a little bit beyond the display cases. So with my display cases now, I bought all of these used on OfferUp and Let Go. I just searched, and whenever anybody had one, I would actually just negotiate the price down, and I would just buy it from them. So there are a couple changes I have to make. I just have to change out this panel. I've got to get new brackets here and get the display cases all up, and then we've got a mirror here. This space used to be an old salon. So this mirror is up and it's glued on there, and I definitely didn't want to waste the money to have someone come and remove this, like a professional glass person, and I didn't want to take it down myself because it was gonna break, and that would have been the end of me. If COVID didn't take me out, that glass definitely would have. So this is the back area. This will eventually be my office and new YouTube studio and kind of like hub area. I've got it taped down on the floor, if you can see the dimensions of the room. So yeah, that's where the office will be, and a little play area for Ethan, and a little kitchen, and back here will be our inventory. And in here is our bathroom. I've got some of my camera equipment in here because, you know, it's so open. I didn't want to leave it out and risk anyone trying to break in to get it. So the bathroom is pretty big. It took me a really long time to scrub it and clean it and get it, you know, presentable to my standards. I still have some patching to do, but that is pretty much it. And there's our back door, and that leads out to a back parking area. So 1,262 square feet of retail space. I think we did good. So, all right, now that you've had a little tour, let's get down to boss bitch talk. All right, let's get into this, guys. I think this is gonna be good. So we're gonna talk about finding a location in the first place for your retail. And I have a little list here. It's not as formal as I normally do my videos, but I think kind of like the vlog style is like what I'm gonna kind of start doing more often, just because it's easier, it's on the cuff, and I feel like you get, you know, something that's a little bit less scripted. So anyway, finding a location. So what I did was I basically at first started where most people would start. You start looking online, and what I discovered was sites like LoopNet, even Craigslist, and some real estate agents and real estate broker websites would come up, and there would be all kinds of commercial and retail listings on those sites. So oftentimes I would start with doing research on the sites. There's also a site called, I think it's City Data, and that particular site had a bunch of retail locations to choose from. Unfortunately, when you're going through those sites, sometimes the places are already rented out or they might be under contract. So make a short list and call quickly to verify that the spaces are still available. All right, then the second thing I did, in addition to doing online research, and I think this was probably the best thing that I ever did, because the spaces that I found doing this were some of the best spaces that I found for retail. I just drove around. Like, I drove around in the cities and the locations that I wanted to be in. And even as like I went through my day and I like on the weekends and stuff when I was running errands, I still kept my eyes open for rent signs. And you want to do this, one, because it gives you a better idea of what's available in the areas that you're looking for. And two, sometimes landlords don't always work with brokers. And sometimes they don't list the space for rent on any of the websites. They just have like a for rent sign on the space, like in the window, and you wouldn't otherwise know it was there if you weren't looking. So sometimes it's worth driving around and taking a look and paying close attention to what spaces are up for rent, and then calling. I usually called immediately. I would take a picture of the sign, even if it was on the weekends. I would call and leave a message, and usually by Monday or Tuesday, I would get a call back. And you're basically just saying, hey, I saw your for rent sign. I'm interested in taking a look at the space. If someone could just get back to me so we could schedule a time for me to take a look. There's no obligation. Don't let anybody pressure you into anything crazy. Don't let them try to tell you that you need to leave a deposit to see it, that you need to do this and that. They should be willing to work with you in order for you to see the unit. And if they give you a hard time, then I honestly would just move on to the next space, because that kind of sets the tone of how the relationship will probably go moving down the line. Unless you absolutely love the space, I wouldn't, force a transaction where there isn't one. If someone really doesn't want you to see the space or really doesn't want to rent to you for whatever reason, you know what? You don't have time for the negativity. Just go ahead and move on. Okay, and when you're looking at a space, even if you have an appointment to look at it or you've already looked at it, before you make any kind of like final decisions or move on to other steps or next steps, I would go to the location during the day, depending on what sort of business you'd like to open. Obviously, if you're opening up like retail boutique, if you're opening up any sort of like product sales, or if you're opening even like a restaurant, you want to make sure that the area that you're in is going to give you the kind of traffic that you're looking for, right? So I would swing by the location during the day, regular hours. I would even swing by in the evening and the nighttime if you could, to see what's going on there at night, if that's of interest to you. If you're going to be shut down at like 6 or 7, then it may not matter to you. But if you are going to stay out and stay open for extended hours, that might be something you want to consider. Like, what kind of traffic are you getting at night? Also, safety. So if you're in an unsavory area, your business might be at risk. You don't want any break-ins, you don't want anybody stealing, and you also don't want to compromise your safety leaving and coming to your business every day. So I would take that into consideration. And of course, you can take an assessment of the type of risk that you're willing to assume for your business, and do what's good for you, and just do what you think is appropriate. The other thing is I would swing by on the weekends too, see what kind of traffic you have on the weekends, because a lot of times, the weekends are the busier days, people are off, people have a little bit more free time. So you want to see what kind of traffic is in and out of your plaza, in and out of your building on the weekend, so you can make a really good decision about whether or not it's the right fit for you. The next thing that you'd have to confirm and find out is what your zoning restrictions are. And zoning basically is a method by which a municipality or a city breaks down how all of the different areas of the city or municipality is going to be used. So you would not typically see like a shopping mall in the middle of a residential area, because residential areas are not zoned for commercial buildings, right? I mean, there's some weird instances in some places, but generally speaking, there are commercial and industrial zones, and then there are residential zones, and then sometimes you have a mixed use zone. So in the area that you have found your retail business or your retail space, you want to check with your city, and you will call the zoning department or email them, which is even better, and just make sure that you are very clear about what kind of business you want to open. Don't sugarcoat it. Be very, very clear and transparent with them that, hey, I'm opening X. Like when I contacted the city of Margate to confirm that my retail space was zoned appropriately, I let them know like, hey, I'm thinking about opening a smoke shop. There's gonna be hemp in here, CBD. This is a tobacco, smoke, and vape shop. I did not sugarcoat it. I did not try to describe it in like a more friendly way, because I didn't want any problems with zoning. So the city will then confirm with you whether or not that space is in a zone where you can have your type of business. So if you're opening a clothing boutique, or if you're opening up a restaurant, or if you're opening up a gas station or a store or a hair salon or whatever it is, check with the city, make sure that it's zoned for that before you go into any sort of negotiations with the landlord for a lease, and definitely before you sign anything. Now's a good time in the video to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. There is a button below that allows you to do that, and once you click it, there is a bell icon that you can click so you can get notified, a push notification to your phone anytime I post new and actionable content on this channel, because you guys know I'm all about providing you value and good content. In addition to that, please go ahead and follow me on my social media channels. I have left my Instagram handle somewhere watermarked on this video and linked below. Go ahead and add me and chop it up with me over there. All right, so now that we've found our space, we've looked at it, we've checked the zoning, we've looked at it in the day, night, and in between and on the weekends, you can probably reach out to the broker or the landlord or your person of contact that you dealt with when you actually went to look at the space, and ask them to send you over a lease if you're ready to move forward with renting the property. And during that conversation, the landlord or the broker will probably mention to you a few things, like what they require. Okay, like listen, we require first month's rent, a security deposit, and last month's rent. Usually the security deposit is normally equal to the rent amount. So literally that will kind of mean that in order to sign that lease and to enter into that lease, you'll have to produce your first month's rent, your last month's rent, and a security deposit up front. In addition to that, the landlord or the broker is going to tell you what the monthly rent is, of course, and of course you'd have to make sure that it's in your budget. The other thing that they're going to mention is whether or not there is a CAM. And CAM stands for Common Area Maintenance. And a lot of times with commercial leases, that you will see that CAM is included on top of your rent. It's an additional charge that is assessed from the landlord that's put on top of your rent and the taxes that you would pay. So you have to make sure that you are aware of it and that you budget and finance for that, because it's something that I think a lot of people don't plan for, and when they get their first rent statement, they're like, wait a minute, there's an extra $200 or $300 on top of this that I wasn't prepared for. So just make sure that you're clear about whether there is any CAM and whether there is not. And then also be clear about what the total amount is going to be every month with your rent and your taxes, depending on your state taxes. Like in Florida, I think it's like 6.5 or 7% on top of your rent. So just make sure that you budget that in as well. In my particular instance, I didn't have CAM. I worked directly with the landlord, and it's a family business, and they were very, very accommodating. So if you can avoid CAM, please do, because I really don't understand what it's for, to be completely honest. It's supposed to maintain the common areas like the walkways, the lights, or whatever. But I mean, sometimes I just feel like it's an extra thing to put money in the landlord's pocket, to be completely frank. You're already getting rent, so like what the hell do you need CAM from me for? But whatever, it's their place, right? Anyway, like I said, if you can avoid CAM, try to avoid it. The other thing to find out about, and they should tell you, is whether or not there are any annual assessments on the property. I had a commercial lease before for my office, and it was different than retail, but they had an annual assessment, and they would bill all of the tenants based on the square footage of their space. They like, somehow or the other, I don't know how they figured it out, but every year would be like an extra $800. And I thought that was so ridiculous, because not only are you already paying rent, you're already paying CAM, and now on top of that, every year you have to pay an assessment, which is a little bit crazy. So just try to get those things up front before you even start looking into the lease and start reading through the lease. And then once you get the lease in your hands, you can match up what the broker or landlord is saying to what is in the lease. You also want to make sure that you also want to confirm what utilities you are responsible for. So in some retail spaces, depending on what your business is, the landlord will cover your water, and they will cover your waste removal, your trash. Sometimes they cover your electricity. Sometimes it's all in. Other times they break it down to where you're responsible for your electricity, your water, your waste, everything like that. So in my particular instance, I'm responsible for my water, my waste, and my electricity, my internet, my phone, all of those things. It's important to factor those in as well, because again, that's on top of the rent that you're gonna be paying, right? So it's important to get a good idea of what all of those things are gonna cost you per month in addition to your rent. So some important clauses to look out for once you do get the lease in hand. You want to look at when your lease actually starts. So sometimes, brokers and stuff can be a little bit sneaky, and they'll have your start date be like sooner than you really needed it to be. Don't let them push you into something prematurely. Like if you're not ready to enter the space this month, ask them if they can push it out for another month or so, and you can commence the lease then. Don't let them force you into renting the space right away. They'll probably tell you, yeah, I have somebody else that's looking at it. They're willing to pay me more money. They're gonna try to call your bluff. Do what you feel is right for you. Don't let anyone force you into doing something that you're not ready to jump into. So if you want to start your lease on October 1st, don't let them push you into starting August or September 1st. Be firm about what you want to do. And if they're not willing to work with you, then unfortunately, you're gonna have to move on, because at the end of the day, you have to be very comfortable with all the decisions that you're making regarding the space. Once you enter that lease, it's very difficult to get out of it. So just be sure that you know what you're doing, okay? Another important part is to ask about free rent. So some landlords will give you a certain period when the lease starts for you to move in, get your stuff up and running, get all your permits. And we're gonna talk about permitting on the next video, but they give you basically a period within which you apply for all your permitting, you get your inspections done, you move in all your stuff, you paint, and you build out your space. Sometimes the landlord will even offer to build out the space for you. That might be something that you can negotiate as well if there's a lot of things that you need changed, depending on what you're going to use the space for. A salon, for example, may ask the landlord to build out some of the plumbing. They may ask the landlord to knock down a wall. These are things that you can negotiate with the landlord before you sign the lease, okay? Other provisions. So abatement of rent is what they call it, right? So sometimes the landlord will give you 6 months or 9 months or 3 months or 1 month or 2 months, depending on the term of your lease. Obviously, the longer the term of your lease, the more abatement or free rent you should try to negotiate. If you're doing a 1 or 2 year lease, you can probably get away with 60 days or 90 days rent abatement or free rent or whatever you want to call it. If you're doing 5 years to 7 years, you can definitely negotiate for like 6 months, even up to 9 months if you're really, if you really want it. So it depends on all the work that you have to do. And it's really nice because it gives you some cushion to get everything that you need into the space and get your permits and get everything in a nice situation. So when you're ready to open, you don't have to worry about hustling and bustling. And every month you don't have to worry about that rent hanging over your head when you're not making any money. So if you can, definitely negotiate some free rent in the front end. It will serve in your interest, right? Okay. One other very important clause in a commercial lease is the personal guarantee requirements or clauses or addendums or exhibits, whatever it is. That is essentially where the landlord will be asking you to personally guarantee performance of this lease. And that basically means that if your business cannot perform, the landlord is going to look to you personally to perform these obligations. That includes the payment of rent. So if you absolutely cannot get out of the personal guarantee, if you cannot negotiate out of this with your landlord, then I would try to negotiate out if you cannot terminate the lease, if you cannot get out of the personal guarantee, then I would ask the landlord to include some language or try to negotiate with the landlord to be able to terminate your lease on 2 or 3 months notice. Because a lot of times you run into this problem where your business is not doing so well and then you want to leave the business, but you've got this long-term lease hanging over your head, and you've got a personal guarantee. So if you walk out of the business, not only is the business going to get sued, but you're personally going to get sued. So try to negotiate something that would insulate you and protect you just in case something like that happens. Hopefully that never happens. We're all going to make millions and millions of dollars with our businesses, and that's never going to happen to us. But heaven forbid it does, at least you would have some sort of contingency plan for that. All right, so those are the things, like the big things to look at. Obviously, each lease is gonna be different. Each landlord is gonna be different. Each broker is gonna be different. And there are gonna be other nuanced things. Commercial leases, especially when they're complex and they're long and you're dealing with usually it's like a corporate owner, I would always invest a little bit of money in having a lawyer review it, a real estate attorney, not just any like business lawyer or intellectual property lawyer. Like in my practice, I don't review leases as part of my business. I'm not a real estate attorney, so I'm not comfortable negotiating those things out for people. I would rather them go to a real estate lawyer who does this day in and day out, so they know exactly what they're looking for and they know exactly how to protect you. All right, so don't take the lease lightly. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. All right, so once you're comfortable with everything, you have asked all the questions, you have negotiated out the fine print, when you're gonna start, your free rent, everything on the lease. If you're comfortable with everything, you can go ahead and let the broker or the landlord or whomever, their representative, know that you're ready to sign. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to sign and have a witness and a notary, all of these things. Just go through the process and go ahead and sign. And once you've signed, congratulations, you've rented a retail space and you are ready to start your business, okay? Well, I mean, you've already started your business, but now like it's game time, okay? Trust me, because I'm in the middle of it and it's no joke, okay? I can't sleep at night sometimes. So what I'm planning on doing next week, I'm gonna take it to the next step, which is all of your permitting requirements, and anything you have to do as far as changes to your space and what you'll need to do to make structural changes, okay? And then we're gonna talk about, understanding what sorts of special permits you're gonna need for your particular business, because sometimes it's a little bit nuanced depending on what it is. I look forward to seeing you on this one. You guys let me know if you like this video or if you like the style of this video, or if you'd rather me go back to kind of like the scripted thing, or if you really just don't care. Let me know, and I will see you on the next video, guys. Take care.